Hello, I'm Satwant from Apps for Good, and I'm going to be talking you through how to create a PhoneGap app using Eclipse, and this is going to be for an Android device as well. So there's a few things I'm going to assume at this point. One is that you've installed Eclipse on your computer, and you've also downloaded the Android SDK and the ADT plugin and installed it, and you've also downloaded the latest version of Cordova. All of those, or links to all of those, and how to install all that can all be found on the Apache Cordova's PhoneGap website using their Getting Started their tutorial on that and their web guide. So I'll just show you, in case you don't know how to do that, how to find that, and I'll talk you through how I actually have installed it myself and how you can do that too. So if you just go to Google, quickest way to find anything is just go to it and type in PhoneGap. There we go. So top link, if I click on PhoneGap, it takes us to our website. So we can click on the Getting Started guides and then click on Android, and it tells us how to install it on our Windows computer as well as on a Mac as well. So this installation has just come out. Actually, this is a newer version. It just came out in November. The one I've been using is slightly more different, but I find it's a little bit more easier only because it doesn't ask you to install Ant. So Ant is a build tool. But I'm not going to go too much into that. What I'm just going to say is, for a lot of people who are using Windows machines, for I know a lot of schools are using that, it's a little bit more difficult. It can be a bit tricky anyway to get it working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do it without using Ant. And there's a few steps you need to take, and they're not actually that difficult. I'm going to talk you through those. I'm going to show you what I did. But first of all, what I really suggest you do is you install the Cordova, the latest version of Cordova, which is version 2.2. Oh, this is the latest version that is available to me while recording it, but there might be a newer one. But always download and install the latest version. So once you have got that, what I do is I go to the Getting Started with Android guide. Please install Eclipse and the Android SDK and the ADT plugin. Please follow those. But then if you click on this link at the top right hand corner and you go down to 2.1 and you click on that, it will take you to an API, which is just a library of things that you can use. So some of these terms might sound familiar to you, like using the camera and capture, connection, events, accelerometer, geolocation, but we're not going to look at this right now. What we want to do is look at the Getting Started guide. So we click on that and we go to Getting Started with Android, and again this is on the 2.1 instructions that we're going to be following. What we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to just set this up. It looks like a lot, but it's just the images are quite big. But what this will allow you to do is to just set up your first project fairly quickly, and you can base all your future projects off of this. In fact, what I will do is I'll package up this project that I create for you, and you can in the future just create a project off of this one. But I suggest you do this at least once yourselves. So since this is probably your first time doing it, let's get started. So I'm going to actually shift this into another screen, so you won't be able to see this guide, but I suggest you follow it alongside as well. So I've got that open now, and I've got Eclipse open as well. So what you want to do is you want to click on File, New, and you want to go to a new, select Project. And then once you've done that, you want to select on Android application project and click Next. So you want to put an application name in there. So I'm going to type in template, because I'm going to be using this going forwards. And the package name for now, I'm just going to leave it as that. And we can go into that, what that means in a later tutorial. But for now, let's just kick things off. This is your first app. So you might want to name that something else. If you're doing this now, you might want to call that whatever you like, actually your first app, for example, and then click next. So this gives us some images that we might want to use for our launcher icon. For now, I'm going to ignore this, and I'm just going to click next. And again, I'm going to ignore this as well, and I'm just going to click next on here, and again, just ignore this and click finish. Great. So we've got our folder here. So you might not have these folders. You're probably just going to have nothing there, which is fine. Now you should have one called template, or whatever you named your first app. So now something called activity_main.xml has popped up. I'm just going to click close and get rid of that because we don't need that for now. So we've got a bunch of folders going down on the left hand side of the screen, and those are all inside a bigger folder called template, which is our project. What we want to do now is we want to change a few of these things, and all I'm going to be doing now is following the guide step by step, but I'm going to talk you through it so you can follow along as well, because it can be the first time you do it, it's a little bit tricky. So the first thing we're going to do, it says in the root of your directory of your project, create 2 new directories, one called libs and one called assets/www. And what you'll notice is when they say the root directory, what they actually mean is template is your root directory, and everything else is another folder, and inside that are more folders. So for example, res, if I just click this arrow, it opens up the folders inside of the folder called res, and the root directory of these is res, and the root directory of res is template. But for now we want to create 2 folders, one called libs and one called assets, and inside of assets we want another folder called www. Well, luckily we already have libs, that's there. If that's not visible for you, you need to create that. Assets is also available for us, which is great, but inside of assets you'll notice there's no little arrow here, so that means there's no folder in assets, so we need to create one in there. So if we right click assets and then we go to new, and then we click folder, we can create a new folder, and we want to put www, and you'll notice up here it says templates/assets, which is referring to our folder structure. Then we can just click finish. So we've now done that, and the next step is to copy on the instructions on the setup guide, which again is all I'm doing, is all I'm following. It says copy the Cordova 2.0.0.js, but it's still referring to the latest version that we have, which is 2.2, which is the one I have. Anyway, your one might be even newer than that. So to do that, we want to go to our PhoneGap folder. So when we downloaded PhoneGap from the Cordova website, it had a bunch of files in there. So in fact, what I'll do is I'll just show you which one I'm talking about. So if we go to PhoneGap again, the folder I'm talking about is when you click on this download and you click here, and you can see it downloading now. This is the folder that you want, so I'm going to cancel this because I've already got it. But that folder, you want to unzip that folder, and it's the contents of that folder that we're talking about now. So if I open it up, and I want to go inside lib, and I want to go inside Android. So there's different devices that we could be working on, but we're working on Android at the moment. And maybe I'll show you guides on the other ones if you like. But for now, we want to go into the lib folder for the Android folder. And once we're in that, you'll see Cordova-2.2 or whichever version you're looking at now. So there's 2 files that have the exact same name. The difference is the extension. So this is a jar file and this is a JavaScript file. So you can notice the difference because of the icons, as well as what it says under type here, executable and JavaScript. So the instructions on the setup guide is to take the Cordova.js file, which is the one with this symbol here, and it's a JavaScript file, and put that into our www folder. So I'm going to just right click on www, and I'm going to paste it in there, and that's done. And then it says to take the jar file, which is this one here, copy it, and I'm just going to move this out of the way and paste it into the libs folder, which is here. So I'm going to paste it in there as so. Done. And it also says take the XML folder, which is this one, and paste it, copy the XML folder from the Cordova download earlier to the res folder. So if I get rid of this, you'll see the res folder is here. So I'm going to actually click these arrows to just minimize these a little bit more, because we don't need to look at those for now. And I'm going to right click res, and I'm going to paste it inside of that. And you'll notice now it's gone right to the bottom because it's in alphabetical order. I'm going to get rid of this as well. So now I'm going to click this little arrow so there's less things to look at. The next step, it asks us to verify that the Cordova, or our version of Cordova, the jar file of our version has been listed in the build path. Don't worry if you don't understand what any of that kind of means for now. It's not really important. We just need to make sure it's done. So we need to just follow that by following the instructions. So right click on libs, go to build, where is that? There we go, build path, and go to configure build path. And now what we want to do is we want to hit add jars, which is here, and then we want to find where it is. So I'm working off the template app, so if you didn't rename it, then you should also see that there, or if you renamed it, then you'll know it will be named the app name that you gave it originally. So if we go inside this, you'll remember that we saved it inside libs, our Cordova 2.2.0 jar file. So we're going to click on that and hit OK, and you'll see it appear there. If it doesn't appear here after you've done that, just click here and hit F5, and it should refresh, and hopefully it would appear. And then click OK. So that is that stage done. So now what we want to do is we want to edit our project's main Java file found in the source. So if we go to source here, and we'll see the package name that we gave originally. If we just open that up and we drag main activity.java over here, we'll see we've got a few things that we need to change. The first thing it asks us to do is to change our import, add in an import statement, and you can add it right here. What I'd advise you to do is just click this little plus button, and it opens up a few other ones that you can look at, and then replace the middle one, which is the activity one, by pasting in what they say in the guide. And you'll notice a few things have gone red here, and it's notifying you there's errors. Don't worry about that, that's fine. We expect that to do is we've just changed something. And the next thing you want to do is change the word activity where it says extends, and you want to change it to droid gap. So one thing you'll notice is that I'm not typing any of this out, I'm just pasting it in. It's not only I am a little bit lazy, I'm not going to lie to you, but the other reason why I'm doing this is very sensitive. If you make one little spelling mistake, if you had a lowercase g instead of an uppercase G, this would fail to work. So I would really recommend you have the guide open, and you just copy and paste straight from it. Is less like you're less likely to make any small mistakes, common mistakes that anyone would make, but it's not worth making the risk. So if you copy and paste the next part into here, so it says replace set content view with super. So if I look at this, I can see set content view here, and I'm going to paste it here as so. What I'm also going to do, and you might not have this here, or you might not, but I'm going to get rid of these lines of code here as well. So that is everything to do with our main activity .java. You notice there's a little star here. That's because it hasn't been saved. So I'm going to Control S, or I'm going to do File and Save, and then that means that this is saved. And then I'm going to close it because we no longer need that. And I'm going to get rid of. I'm going to press these little arrows so it's smaller, more minimized, and easier for us to work with. Now we want to edit our Android manifest.xml file, which is here. If I drag this in here like that, you'll notice it opens up in this view, which is not what we want. So if you do see this, you've opened it up wrong. What you want to do is right click on the file and click open with, and then go to text editor. Now that that's opened like this, we can edit it a little easier. So it's asking us to paste in a huge chunk of code, and it can be a bit tricky from the guide that they have to see whereabouts you need to paste that in, but it's actually telling you to paste it in after, or between 2 points, and the 2 points are after the closing opening tag of users and before the opening tag of application. So you don't need to know what all of this stuff does, but you do need to follow it. I'll just tell you very quickly what some of this does. A lot of this is permission. So if you are using an app and you want to go online, for example, you want to use the internet, you want to send and receive SMSs, you have to, the app has to ask the user for permission. So this is all allowing that to happen. And if your app didn't use internet, didn't need the internet, or didn't need to record audio, you would actually remove these later on from your app just by deleting it as such. But for now, we don't need to worry about that. We're just going to leave them all in because we're not really sure. We're just going to assume that we're not sure what our app is going to do. Okay, so that's done. And there's one final part to this to the XML file, and that's adding in a final line about orientation changes. And it says to paste it inside our opening activity tag, and that is this one here, where it says activity and it ends with a tag here. What we want to do is, I'm just going to hit enter a few times, and I'm going to paste it in here like so. So we're almost finished. We just need to add in our index.html file. So to do that, we need to close our Android manifest.xml. We don't need this anymore. And of course, we need to save the changes that we just made. And then we want to just go to our assets folder and our www folder, which already has our Cordova 2.2.0.js file. What we want to do is we want to create a file in there, a text file, or a HTML file. So I'm going to go to File, New, and I'm going to go to an untitled text file, and then I'm going to File, and I'm going to Save, and I'm going to save it into this place here, into this folder. So I'm going to go to my template folder, and I'm going to assets folder and www, and I'm going to save this as index.html, and then I'm just going to paste in what they say I need to paste in from the site. So if you have gone through those, the basic presentations that are on our site on how to do HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, some of this will look quite familiar to you. So you've just basically got a HTML page here, and inside the body, I'll just add some space in here. We've got a H1, a heading, and it just says hello world, and that's it. Inside our head tag, what you'll notice is that we have a JavaScript link to a file called Cordova.1.9.0.js. This is actually trying to link to our Cordova 2.2.0 file, or the latest Cordova file that you downloaded. So what we need to do is just change this to the correct file name, and then hit save. And we've actually we now can run this, and it will work on a mobile device. So there's a few ways we can do this. We can run it on an emulator. We can connect it into a phone to it as well. And what I really recommend is you connect your phone to your computer, and you install any drivers that are needed. So if you have an Android phone, I beg your pardon, and it's connected, what you need to do then is click on template, click on run, click on run as, and then Android application, and you'll notice, what you should notice is a little pop-up up here, anytime today. Is it behind the scenes? No, it didn't pop up. Okay, so the reason it didn't pop up is because of one of my settings. So you can't actually see what it's doing. Well, you can see this stuff going on here at the bottom, but what's actually happening is it's loading it onto my phone, which is connected to my computer, which obviously you can't see that because I'm only recording what's going on the screen. But if I go to run and I go to run configurations and I go to click on target and I go always prompt to pick device, hit apply and then click run again, then you get a little pop-up box. So this is allowing me to select one of the devices. So here you can see I've got a Dell Streak connected. Usually that should be a green tick. I'm not sure why it's a red tick, even though everything seems to be working fine. The version that I've got on there, and then it also allows me to launch a virtual device as well. So I'm going to quickly show you how to do that, and then you should be able to see this app on the screen as well. So if I click on launch a new Android virtual device, you'll see that it says nothing's available. So I'm going to click on manager and I'm going to click on new, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in an Android device and I'm going to hit target and I'm going to go to 2.2. And I've got an error here because it says it's invalid characters, so I think that's to do with there's no spaces allowed, so that seems okay. And then I'm going to click create AVD. I'm not actually going to create it because I've already got one, but when you do click it, it appears here. So I'm going to click on the one that I want, which is Android 2.2, and I suggest doing 2.2 as a minimum one. I think anything below that you might get some errors. And then I'm going to press start and then launch, and you notice the emulator loads up on the screen. Now emulators are notorious for being very slow and very error prone. So I can't stress this enough. I would really recommend getting a device, an Android device, plugging it in to test your stuff. There's a lot of aspects of app development that you just cannot test on an emulator. For example, the camera, you can't test that. You can't really. It's a bit difficult to do GPS as well. Okay, so we've loaded it up here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it. You'll notice it appears here as well under my actual phone that I've got connected. It says emulator, so I'm going to click OK, and then you'll notice that my phone should launch onto my phone as well. So it says at the moment launching template. Now this is it does take a really long time to load. It's happening relatively quickly on this laptop, but this is quite a powerful machine, so I'd suggest, I can't stress this enough, I really would suggest a phone. Nonetheless, it has worked, and that's great. So I'm actually going to stop this project here, but what I am going to do is I'm going to package up this template folder for you. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to add in a few more files into it. So I'm going to add in a folder in the side of www, and that folder is going to be a JavaScript folder, for example. And I'm also going to do a new folder, and I'm going to have a CSS folder in there as well. And I'll package this up and I'll put it online on our site, and you can then just import all of this entire folder into your app, into your Eclipse, and run off of that in future if you like. And you can import that in by just doing I think it's import here, and then just selecting that folder, the folder once you've downloaded it, and it will appear here, and then you can just rename the folder and rename your files. And going forward you can always do that, so you don't have to keep on following these steps that I've just outlined every time you want to create a new app. So yeah, this is it. This is your first ever app. Pretty simple. You'll notice that it looks very similar to it is HTML that we're building in, and it works exactly as any HTML kind of basic website would work. And once you've done that and you run it, PhoneGap does all the hard work, and it converts it into the native language of that phone and makes everything work, which is brilliant. It makes things a lot easier for us. So good luck. Let me know how you get along. we'll be releasing more and more stuff going forwards. So any problems, just write a comment. If you'd like to see more stuff, let us know, and good luck.